We will begin a new era of soaring income, skyrocketing wealth, millions and millions of new jobs, and a booming middle class. We're going to boom like we've never boomed before.
Are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America.
There have been plenty of shocks and disruptions around the globe since Donald Trump's inauguration 7 weeks ago. But perhaps the least expected and potentially most disruptive is Donald Trump crashing his own narrative. Stocks on Australia's share market slumped billions of dollars in value in early trade this morning, following the US markets down, on the back of Trump's remarks that not only could his tariff and other policies cause a recession, but that might not be a bad thing.
What I have to do is build a strong country. You can't really watch the stock market. If you look at China, they have a 100-year perspective. We have a quarter. We go by quarters.
What probably spooks the market even more than Trump's sanguine attitude to a recession is that he keeps changing his mind. Tariffs on Mexico and Canada were on, then they were delayed for a month, then they were on again. The Canadians are taking him on.
There's someone who's trying to weaken our economy. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, as we know, has put unjustified tariffs on what we build, on what we sell, on how we make a living. We cannot let him succeed. And we won't.
The incoming Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is reflecting an angry Canadian public. By contrast, government ministers and officials in Australia have been quietly awaiting the final confirmation that we will not be exempted from the global US tariffs on aluminium and steel set to take effect this week.
We'll continue to engage constructively, and we're continuing to work. It is in Australia's interest, but it's also in the economic interest of the United States for Australia to be exempted.
So hopefully Kevin Rudd and the Trade Minister and the Prime Minister have been on the phones and engaging with their counterparts in the United States to make sure that we can get a deal done.
There is an almost universal view in both Canberra and Washington that there is little to no chance we will be exempt from the US tariff decision. But the feeling is it is worth waiting before counterpunching against the US president. Not everyone is so sure we should be being so polite.
Are we just going to become, just a conga line of sycophants creeping through the White House, paying homage to this guy and telling him he's a genius? Look, it's ludicrous.
There was a time when saying something like this could cost you an election.
There they are, a conga line of suckholes on the Conservative side of Australian politics. The backbench sucks up to the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister sucks up to George W.
Malcolm Turnbull isn't running for office anymore, but the much more muted reaction to his comments, compared to the outrage that greeted Mark Latham in 2003, suggest an earlier obligatory deference to the United States has been whittled away by the Trump phenomenon. Turnbull and Trump have publicly clashed in recent days. Frustrated by a lack of substantive discussion about the implications of Trump for Australia, Malcolm Turnbull has organised a summit to discuss the changed outlook for Australia's foreign and defence policies.
We cannot continue this bipartisan gaslighting that is going on at the moment, where there are these massive changes in Washington affecting us and the whole world.
Australians are already feeling the effects of Trump through the share market and superannuation balances. The uncertainty he is creating is hanging over the continuing faux election campaign. And now it hangs over the federal budget too, due to be handed down on March 25. How tricky is it to put together a budget amid the Trump uncertainties?
Well, really tricky. The Trump administration is moving fast and breaking things. And it's starting to hurt confidence, certainly starting to hurt share markets. Share markets and economies, two different things. A downturn in one does not tell you downturn in the other. But chances are the US will slow, and that will hurt and complicate things for our budget here.
All this uncertainty is happening just as the prospects for the Australian economy have actually been starting to improve.
It's starting to get better after a tough time. The tax cut put money in people's pockets. Now we've had an interest rate cut that's starting to do it too. That combination is seeing a pickup, but it's early days and chances are it'll be a bit of a grind.
Latest figures from the Department of Finance suggest the federal budget is in better shape than expected. Tax collections are up and spending is down. The budget is expected to contain an extension to energy subsidies, and a new report today from the government's own Economic Inclusion Advisory Committee is urging the government to significantly increase the job seeker rate in the budget. One thing unlikely to be contained in the budget is any retaliatory moves against the US on tariffs.
Even if tariffs are applied to our exports, it will seem counterintuitive to many, but responding to tariffs or trade restrictions with similar measures will only make matters worse.
Don't do it. If tariffs are dumb, then why should we do the dumb thing? All right, you can't stop someone else being dumb, but you can stop yourself being dumb. China, through tariffs, or effectively trade sanctions at us in recent times. And we stared it down. It was the right thing to do. Australia did much better through that than people thought. Just because somebody else does something dumb doesn't mean you should follow.